Hello, it's Simone. Today I have yet another sketch for you. It is the August 1st sketch from the Stuck Sketches website, and I'm still working with the Amy Tangerine on a Whim collection. I have two more layouts after this, and then I think I'm just going to purge what I have left and keep the things I like. So when I use a sketch, I usually make a sketch from the sketch and see what sticks out to me, what I think are the most important elements of the sketch. Even though a sketch is like a recipe or something you could follow as a guideline, to every one of us, a sketch has different things that stick out to us. So I'm right now showing you the things that I picked from my stash. Those are the flare buttons. There is a glassine bag and the blue tag. I think this blue really goes well with the black, orange, and black and white polka dots that I chose, and those three papers that were in the collection. And then I also pulled these printable die cuts from Caitlin Schaefer. Those are on her website, and a kit. I think it's the May kit or the June Ellie Studio kit. However, I don't use as much as I thought I would. And then I also pulled all my Ellie Studio die cuts, and I just took out all of the die cuts that were in this kit, as well as some older die cuts that I keep in those iris containers. And then I'm just showing you all the die cuts from the Amy that are in the bag that are from the Amy Tangerine collection. So, as I said, a sketch really has different things, and there were some fine stitching lines around the sketch. And I interpreted them as that I wanted to use that black paper, and I really liked the way it framed the layout, and so that's my way of interpreting the stitches. I'm not really stitching, I'm just using that as a border to frame my layout. And then I chose this journaling card that I actually really liked, but I also liked the blue that I chose from the tag that I wanted to have here. And then I just really commit very quickly to the different layers that are behind my photos, and yeah, and then I just leave the tail of the paper on to decide whether I want it to be large or small, and then I decide I cut it down, and I will have the polka dotted paper as a bit of a larger background there. And that's like the fundament of this layout. There's nothing really more going to happen. I will switch things up a lot later on. And sometimes when I'm done with filming a scrapbooking process video, maybe it's because I'm still fairly new to scrapbooking actually, and fairly new to filming process videos. But when I watch other people do process videos, they are so organized and they actually really seem to know what they are doing. I never feel that way. I always feel like when I'm doing a voiceover, it's like, okay, I'm almost done and I haven't even started telling you what I'm doing. So I started working on the bottom part of the sketch. The layout actually is divided into two parts, the photo cluster and a cluster with the title. And that's what I'm working on right now. I went through the LA Studio die cuts, but I actually end up only using one piece of the things that I pulled out here. And when I start gluing down that tag, which actually stuck to the back of my photo mat, I decided, well, I could trim part of the shipping tag and use it on the bottom cluster to include this very smoky blue into my bottom cluster as well. Then I fuss a very, very long time with the bottom cluster. I cut my bigger piece of paper into a, what is it called? Fishtail banner. but I don't know what it is with me and those fishtail banners. I struggle to use them so badly. I just voiced over a Journal with Me video where I also cut a piece of paper into fishtail and I cut the fishtail off in the end. Guess what is happening right here in just a few seconds? Yes, I'm going to cut my fishtail banners off again. And then I'll just have a rectangular piece of paper there. So now I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the striped paper, because this is a branding strip from the 6x6 paper pad from the Tangerine collection. And I'm thinking about covering up the hole because I actually like the paper strip in its complete length. But then I decide, okay, just cut it off and maybe you can stitch it together or just glue it together later to make it seem like a long strip. But I decide against that and just bring the blue strip up to the top. And I think this is where I actually realize that my photos, which is 2 photos just put on a 4x6 canvas, that the right photo is looking off the page. And this is something that I totally do not like at all. I cannot scrap a photo where the person looks off the page, so I decide to just, instead of cutting the photos apart and arranging them as they are on the sketch, I really like them being together like that and being like one continuous unit. And so I decide to just mirror the sketch and put it on the left side of my 12x12 base instead of having it on the right side. And funnily enough, there are some layouts that are coming up later this month that are also on the left side of my layouts, even though I usually tend to scrap more on the right. So that is a nice mix. If you are stuck, just try to scrap on the other side of the layout maybe. So now I'm going through my Amy Tangerine collection die cuts, and I said it in my last video, there is a lot of very themed things. And I'm really trying hard to just look for the color and not look at this cactus as a cactus, but as a green element. But there are also very, very many words on there on the die cuts, and I like using words, but I don't like using them all the time in every embellishment cluster. And even when I do make an embellishment cluster, there's like all the embellishments have words on them, and that's too much for me. So now I'm debating between oh yeah, I could go into a very green direction with this layout, but I decide against it. I'm going to use that ice cone as a layer in my embellishment cluster. So I'm not looking at this as an ice cone, even though my son is eating something, so it could be related to eating. It's just, it has a color that I like and I want it in that top embellishment cluster. So there. And the other thing that I really, really struggle with those die cuts that are again die cut and are not solid is that they totally change up the value of the color when you take out all of the pieces, and that you can actually see through them. That is something that is really hard. So now I'm starting to use my letter stickers, and I wasn't a fan of this letter alpha set in the beginning, but I really started to like it. I fuzz with those letter stickers a long time until I can make a word that consists mostly, or a title that consists mostly of the blue letter stickers, and I come up with a title that is called Tomato Sandwich. I will switch up my die cuts a little bit later, and I did not make you watch this. And then I also pulled in this is part of a cut apart sheet that I think I cut apart again, and just because I like that flower and the color of the flowers. And then I put the camera up on foam, because that's what I actually also did with the photo. I put it up on foam. And then I decided I want a background, an embellishment cluster, and a layer behind that flare button. This is something that I usually never use in my scrapbooking, but I just went through my drawer where these are kept, and I thought, oh wow, I could try and use those for the main embellishments. So I chose this boy. I really liked him there because, well, my son is a boy and he could, it just fits this this topic. And then I realized, oh no, you shouldn't have built a complete embellishment cluster without sticking down the base first. So what happens? My flare falls off and I can't use my ATG gun. I used the liquid glue because then I didn't have to put it down anywhere, and I just used a lot of liquid glue to glue down my cluster. It worked, but that's something that you shouldn't do. And when you're not as a beginner as I am, you know that you shouldn't do that, and you can learn from my mistake. So yeah. So now I glued down the bottom cluster, and I made the camera, it's not on this in the same height, but the line of the camera, so it actually lines up. I didn't move it. I really liked that those cameras were on the same vertical line. Then I stick down all of my letters. So I spelled out tomato sandwich, and you can see there in the end the H is not on my shelf, that the bottom embellishment cluster. So I had this heart flare down there, but I really like the heart flare and I will use it, but I didn't think it would work in the bottom. And so I used this as a single embellishment on the right side of my photo. And it looks like my son is looking over there to that heart flare. And I really like how that turns out. I could have used one of the blue cameras again in that embellishment cluster, but I have to admit I just simply forgot, and I don't really think it's needed. I have a circle or 3 embellishment that make up these clusters with the this is the story, or tell the story, the circular heart, the flare, heart flare, and the boy, and those really lead the eye across the page. At least that's what I think. So I want to bring in more gray. Even though I used brown in the letter stickers, I think it works. It's not too clashing. And I want this in the bottom embellishment cluster. And then I decide, oh, since the shelf was too short, why don't I just stick that label underneath the sandwich and create a base for the H, so it doesn't look like it's falling off the shelf. And I really like how that I solved this problem. And then I start journaling again. I think I'm not, oh yeah, I'm making you watch this because look at the way I journal. I don't know why I actually stopped there and did not at least spread out my journaling until it was above the tomato. This creates a little bit of a strange white space. It's not that obvious, and people who look at this, and I really like the layout, and it's not that noticeable, but for me, when I'm looking at it now, I think it would have even worked much better if the journaling block would have been as wide as the word tomato. So there's some white space above the tomato and next to the tomato, and I pull out the Studio Calico stamp set that says hungry and favorite, and I just stamp it down there. And then I also stamp the date, the month of the date when I journaled about it. It's August. Did I stamp July? August 2017. And I will also go back in and stamp the month and year when this photo was taken. I don't really remember, so I need to go and look into my Photos app. And then I'm adding some ink splatters with Heidi Swapp Color Shine in 2 different tones of blue, and that finishes off my layout. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this process video. I would really appreciate it if you liked this video and maybe subscribe to my channel so you won't miss any upcoming videos. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye!